Startups doing the impossible. And we're talking about the impossible. Picking a goal and sticking with it for almost 20 years. It's incredible, the story you're going to hear today from Manny Ohonme. And he is such an inspiration. He's such a special individual. He's worked so hard to make this happen, to make the dreams of 10 million people come together by giving away 10 million pairs of shoes. It's absolutely incredible. You're listening to Startup Club. We are the Serial Entrepreneur Secrets Revealed. We do this every Friday, 2 o'clock Eastern. And we invite authors, experts, serial entrepreneurs, and the community of Startup Club to come on stage and share their ideas of how they start, scale, exit, and repeat. Hey, and on that note, we're actually announcing today that the book Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat, a book that took 10 years to write, 30 years of experience and hundreds of interviews. That book, Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat, is now available for pre-order on Amazon or any of your favorite bookstores. And we have a special pricing on pre-order of $9.99 for the Kindle and $39.99 for the physical book. Now, here's what you might want to consider the physical book. It's different. This book is designed in such a way that you can flip through it and learn so much from many different topics. We have over 40 illustrations, we have over 100 callouts, and we have over 100 golden nuggets. It's an incredible experience. We make reading a physical book fun again. But if you want the discounted rate for an ebook, I would recommend you go to Amazon and search for Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat, or just go to Google and search for Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat. But getting into the show today, I am so honored that we have with us an entrepreneur who set a goal of 10 million shoes. And he set this goal 19 years ago. Now, we're going to try to understand the story here. But first, we really do want to understand who this person is. Michelle, can you give us an idea of who we're talking to today and then
Oh, oh
ask the first
yes.
question?
We've been looking forward to this, and we're so grateful for all the members who are part of the club and who are here today. And thank you, Ed. It's great seeing you here too. But our friend Manny here on the stage, okay, he might not tell you, so I'm going to say it, Colin. Like, this guy is amazing. We're talking 10 million pairs of shoes, friends. 10 million. And he is a businessman that has beyond excelled, the wildest dreams of many of us. So Manny, he's received awards from the Vatican. Okay, from the Vatican. That's like a Nobel Peace Prize, excuse me, for those of us here listening today. It's huge. He has also received U.S. presidential awards. And he just recently came back from D.C. speaking at a United Nations conference. And I'm sure I'm just skimming the surface here, but Manny, and I'm going to say, and his team, he has a phenomenal team. We've had the pleasure of meeting them several times out of their headquarters in Charlotte. But Manny is phenomenal, and his team behind him. So, Manny, without further ado, I don't want to rob you of your time. Why don't you just start off with a little bit about your background so we can understand what brought you to this incredible mission of putting shoes on people, on children? Manny.
Well, thank you so much, Michelle. What a privilege it is to be able to join you and all the members of the Startup Club this afternoon. Thank you, Colin. Thank you, everyone, because, like behind or beside every successful venture, there are amazing people. And I know just like there are amazing people behind you guys there at Startup Club, there are amazing people behind me at Samaritan's Faith, at the World Shoe Inc., at the World Shoe Fund, and all that we involved in. But like you can tell from my accent, Michelle, I'm not from Florida. I'm from Lagos, Nigeria. I'm an African kid that grew up in Nigeria, and I used to wake up every day, and I know some folks listening to us today probably has watched Discovery Channel before. If you've ever watched Discovery Channel and you ever saw those kids in Africa used to carry baskets on their head, that was me. At the age of 9, my job, my responsibility is to help contribute to the bottom line, the economic bottom line, my family's financial picture. I used to wake up every morning. It's funny, I used to say this. I used to say, God, give me 001. For those that don't know me, that means it's okay if I don't have breakfast today or have lunch today, but at least give me supper so I can make it till the next day. And if you were to see my picture with my little face and my smile on my face, you're saying there's not a chance. This brother's missed a meal in his entire life. But that was my reality. At the age of 9, I was selling water and soft drinks at the park in Lagos, Nigeria, and these missionaries came to teach African children how to play sports. I showed up there to go sell soft drinks and water. I didn't realize I was about to have a date with destiny. And these guys had these orange balls. They were teaching African children how to play sports. In my country, everything that's round and bounds, Colin, we kick them. But this one, they were dribbling this ones, man. It was so funny. So they were having so much fun. So I put my basket of water and soft drinks down, just like everybody else was kind of mesmerized by what was going on. So I wanted to join them, but because I was a street merchant, they shooed me away. I was so dejected. I was so disappointed. I stood in awe watching all these people watching fun. But our providence will have it. One of the balls quickly rolled around the corner by where I was standing. I quickly ran after that ball. I grabbed it and I snuck in with all the rest of the kids and joined them. We started dribbling the ball and passing the ball and shooting the ball. In the middle of all this crazy mayhem, this guy, this aid worker, missionary from the great state of Wisconsin called David, he screamed and said, "Guys, wait, we're going to have a shooting competition. And the price for the winner is going to be a new pair of tennis shoes." That place lit up like Christmas tree. Every kid started screaming, "Pick me, pick me, pick me." I was one of the few that got picked that day. Never played basketball in my life. But the first shot I took that day went in net. It's crazy. I truly believe Angels was working overtime on my behalf. It was so crazy. I mean, this place was just, electric. And I was so excited. And this man called Dave called me to the front after I won the competition. And he presented me my first ever pair of tennis shoes. And you've got to realize the extent of this gift for me because people in my neighborhood that live on less than $1 a day, a pair of tennis shoes was like Mercedes Benz. He was so crazy. And as this guy presented me these shoes, and I want to run and take off to start running home, this guy grabbed me by my shoulder and he looked at me. He says, "Son, just because all you see around you is poverty doesn't mean the God of the universe has forgotten about you." He said, "Keep dreaming and keep dreaming big." And after I finished speaking, I took off. I ran so fast. It's so crazy. I forgot my basket of soft drinks and water. And I ran all the way home and I got home and my mom was looking at me as I was walking through the door. She said, "Son, where's my soft drinks and water?" I said, "Mama, check out my shoes." And she was happy for me. And about 2 minutes later, he said, "Son, you better go bring my soft drinks and water back, or else now you better meet Jesus." You know what I'm saying? And I ran all the way fast back there thinking, "Oh, I'm going to die, man. Mama going to kill me." But that became a defining moment in my life. It was so crazy. My home life was somewhat kind of rough because my father struggled a little bit with a whole bunch of addictions, with alcoholism and different types of things. So basketball started becoming my escape. So I started going to the basketball court to go have fun. So it was crazy as I was doing that and started doing that. Eventually, I got the chance to actually started playing and getting better and got good. And I went to my coach when I finished, my junior year in high school. I said, "I want to go to America and basketball is college." And he laughed at me. He's so crazy. He said, "My son, you're not good enough. You're not fast enough. And you're not big enough." And I'm sorry, man. He was one of the greatest encouragers I have. And I was so disappointed. But he said, "You had courage to come see me." That guy gave me the opportunity to give me some schools in America. I went ahead and applied and wrote letters. I ended up getting 5 scholarship offers. I ended up being accepted at this amazing university, at this school called University of North Dakota in Lake Region. It's crazy. That's another story by itself. One day I get a chance to kind of share. You can actually look at my book and I call Soul Purpose, kind of talk about that. But that's how it started for me. I won that pair of shoes and came to America, went to school, got my undergrad, got my master's, got in business, and eventually my father got sick and I had to go back home and end up passing away. And when I got to Nigeria, where my father passed away, and I saw all these children with no shoes. That's when my heart was gripped. I remember what it felt like to receive a pair of shoes years ago at that same park, and then I learned over 300 million kids in my country. actually across Africa didn't have shoes, and over 1 billion people in the world were infected with diseases because many of them didn't have shoes. So I said somebody ought to do something about this. Well, guess what? 5 years later, we started an organization called Samaritan's Fifth Division to go put shoes in the feet of 10 million people. It's crazy. That was 20 years ago, and in 2023. We've now served over 9.6 million people in about 109 countries, about 565 U.S. states, 12 affiliate offices across the world. And October this year, we're going to serve a 10 million person in South Africa.
Oh my gosh.
How are
Manny,
you? I
you
speak.
are absolutely amazing the way that you came across here and had a vision. First, I'd like to understand, like, why does it matter so much that a child could get a pair of shoes? It's just a pair of shoes.
Well, a pair of shoes to us in America is a fashion accessory, but to the over 1.5 billion people in the world that face their reality, the mobility, the chance that they could lose their feet to amputation, to diseases that's so nameless. They call them neglected because the pharmaceutical company don't make money from it, so they don't even try and focus on it. They're called neglected tropical disease. Many of them die or lose their feet to amputation because of something that we call a fashion accessory in our country. In places like Ethiopia, where millions of people have this condition called podoconiosis, a non-filarial type of elephantiasis that affects in Ethiopia alone over 5 million people. 1 million of them are children. Many of them farm in soil called silica, and that silica eats away at their soul, attacks their nerve system. It blows up, and their feet becomes about 4, sometimes 6 times their natural size. They have paws, they smell, they can't work, their kids can't go to school, and a pair of shoes that actually will be for us something that we can use to color coordinate our outfit becomes actually the primary mode of those people transportation, and without it cause these people to lose the ability to earn income, and many of them can go to school. It's one of the top 3 needs for kids even in the United States to go to school. Without shoes you can't go to school, and in places like even like Uganda or Cameroon or Colombia, they've got this jiggers that comes in and burrows through the soil, and it comes through the opening in the dirt, and if you have any kind of laceration, it walks in through your blood, transport through your body. Before you know, you look like you'll have leprosy, and with a pair of shoes we can actually prevent that from happening. So a pair of shoes is so important. I mean, when you hear over 1 billion in the world affected by this disease, we thought this was an injustice that needed to be dealt with. And we took on that challenge. In the United States, we work with Title I schools. Many of the kids we serve, many of them, that pair of shoes, the first ever new pair of shoes they've ever owned. And you see boys sometimes wearing, girls have been bullied and intimidated. And we come into these schools, we provide them new shoes and sometimes to wash their feet. Overseas, we get the chance to actually adopt the wash model, which is the water, sanitation, and hygiene, where we clean their feet, we wash it, we get the chance to sit in front of these kids and remind them to dream big dreams, and they can be used. So that's why we do. That's why shoes is important. It's more than just a way for them to get from point A to point B. It's actually a protection against disease fighting things that can keep them alive and keep them to go to school and allow these people that are working on farms across the world to stay alive and stay healthy so we can earn income.
Wow. Like it's so mind-boggling, Manny, and just so amazing. I mean, who would have thought? You taught me something, like I had no idea. Literally, the impact of children without shoes. So it leaves them without education, and for many, it's horrible to think of, to death. So just we're all going to put on our business hats right now. This is Startup Club, and we have these amazing members, and many of them have very philanthropic, very conscientious ideas for their companies and their products. So, like, tell us a little bit about how you did it. You had this incredible vision and you made it happen. You're only almost to the 10 million mark. Like, just impart on us some like wisdom about how did you do it, and ideas for us to take our philanthropic businesses to the next level.
Well, thanks, Michelle. I always tell people in life that success is never a solo venture. Nobody ever summited any kind of mountain without somebody else playing some type of role to encourage, to inspire, to help push them along that path and journey of success. And I'm not an anomaly. It takes a team, my wife, my staff, a team of volunteers, over 200,000 of them around the world. Our affiliate office in about 12 countries around the world. Our partners that work with us in over 109 countries worldwide and in over 565 U.S. cities. But one of the first things that we thought about as we look at what's going to be our big, hairy, audacious goal in 2003, the vision to go put shoes in the feet of 10 million, we knew to be able to summit that mountain, we have to understand, we have to move from one base camp to the next base camp and to the next base camp. And for us to be able to move from the bottom of that mountain to the first base camp, we knew first and foremost, first came out with an idea. Can we find and if because oftentimes everybody wants to get credit for everything that you're trying to do. So if you start out saying, if you don't care who gets credit, how much good can you do in the world? How much impact can you make in the world? So we're going to make sure that our vision is so big enough. And when we create that vision and that audacious goal that's so big, we make sure that there's enough room for other people to join us along that journey. So that's one of the first things I tell, and that's one of the key part of our playbook. We actually went ahead and found a Division I basketball coach to help us amplify our message, to put a face to the problem that affects over 1 billion people worldwide. We said, would you help us coach a game on national TV without shoes? So how do we leverage the power of marketing to be able to amplify our message, to be able to use that as a platform to engage a bunch of people from different corners and aspects of the world to join us on this mission? And it's crazy. I challenge this guy to help me raise 40,000 pairs of shoes in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King's 40th anniversary. First thought I was crazy, and then he said yes. You wouldn't believe this, that by game time on the 24th of January 2008, this young man called Ron Hunter was the head coach at Indiana University, Purdue University in Indianapolis, helped us raise 110,000 pairs of shoes. By game time, that ABC News made him Person of the Week. By the end of that year, raised over 200,000 pairs of shoes. That ABC News made him Person of the Year. 439 media outlets ran that story that instantaneously, that even all the way far out as Hong Kong and China and different parts of the world, they saw some of this stuff as affiliates picked it up and just translated and just transported across the world. People started calling, how can I join you? How can I be a part? Then I said, let me go ahead and walk from Charlotte to Atlanta as a way to be able to draw attention to the cause. I got the head of social responsibility for Crocs to walk with me. And after a couple of days, he said, Manny, Michelle said, you must be crazy, man. You're going to destroy your feet. I said, for the millions of kids around the world, this is actually the reality of the world. I get to do this for 2 weeks. I didn't realize at that time, Michelle and Colin, that Atlanta to Charlotte, which is only about 300 miles, it felt like it was an eternity because it took me 2 weeks to walk 300 miles. But because of that act of sacrifice, Crocs ended up donating over 1 million pairs of shoes. It was so crazy. Before we knew, we went from one base camp to the next base camp. We started creating strategy to be able to engage schools, to engage coaches, to engage businesses. And business started using us as a calling card to engage their community. Before we knew it, we were at 1 million, we were at 2 million, we were 3 million. Just pretty crazy what's transpired from that. And now we set, as we prepare October this year, going to Africa, the site of our first ever distribution that we did in Cape Town, South Africa in 2003. On the 20th of October of this year, we're going to serve a 10th million person in that same community to be able to actually summit that mountain. And it hasn't been easy to do that. We've created unique partnerships with corporations. We've created a unique partnership with individuals. We created unique partnerships with foundation, with governments of countries to be able to actually leverage our shoes as a prophylactic in the fight of neglected tropical disease. So we've created an avenue for corporations to sponsor us, for businesses to sponsor us, for individuals to sponsor us, for folks to be able to join our mission to help advocate for us and help be a part of our 10 million goal. It's amazing to think in terms of, like, as part of our vision, we realized actually about in 2017, after we started seeing as we're getting closer to our to that base camp that got us close to the next mountain we were going to climb, we knew we had to start working on what's it going to take for us once we get to that 10 million. How do we go serve the next 10 million? And we started thinking about strategically, we need to make sure we have the right team. We have to make sure we have the right partners. We need to ensure we have the right strategy, the right vision, because as a leader, we know we have to focus not just on the cash. We have to make sure that our vision is spot on. We leading with mission and vision. We make sure that the execution plans and strategy are spot on, and we have to have right people to help us accomplish this goal. So in 2017, we set out to actually go create and manufacture a shoe that can help us fight this silent killer that we're killing people around the world. We call that shoe our world shoe. It's a disease fighting shoe that has this active antimicrobial in the shoe that's actually green, that has this biodegradable accelerant in there that helps us, that biodegrades at the end of the shelf life when the shoes, the shelf life is over, when we want to bury it in the dirt. We don't want to become an environmental nuisance that we put them in landfills across the world. But this shoe now has become so success that we went out in the last couple of years through some private rounds of funding and philanthropy, and we also raised some additional funds that we've actually raised enough resources now as part of this last capital raise that we can actually go establish our first of its kind manufacturing facility in Africa that will be manufacturing indigenous, to hiring local folks that actually can have Africans helping Africans to be able to help transform themselves. And we hope by the end of this October, we're going to actually have a grand opening for this factory that will have capacity to manufacture over 2 million pairs of shoes, where we can actually generate profit to do even more good.
I think the whole story is absolutely amazing. Your energy is phenomenal. I don't think I've ever met anybody with so much energy. We love the world. It's World Shoot Global, you said, right?
Yeah, it's actually it's World Shoe Inc. And we're a global shoe brand that with indigenous manufacturing. The factory is going to be based in Ghana and West Africa. We'll hire anywhere between 200 to 300 people, and that will actually use Africa innovation and Africa know-how, and typically technology like this, when it comes out to market, it always comes out of the West. But we want to be able to show Africa ingenuity, that some of the best can actually come from Africa, and this factory is actually best of its class. And when people walk past this factory, they have hopeful aspiration that one day I will have the right type of skills to come join these people and be part of this mission to go create a world one day with zero shoeless children.
You're crazy. Listen, you got this mountain that you have to climb. 19 years ago, you said you're going to give away 10 million pairs of shoes. That was your BHAG. You actually created an incredibly outrageous number. At the time, did you really believe you could pull it off?
I honestly, sometimes we said at that time we wanted this vision and this goal to be so audacious that we can't take credit for it. That if we accomplish, only God can take credit for it. I'm just being completely honest. I thought it was so crazy. My friend thought I've gone loco because I couldn't even just. It wasn't just about the shoes, but because one of the key aspect of these shoes, that before people receive the shoes, we actually have this unique way that we deliver the shoes. That every recipient that we give the shoes to, we clean and wash their feet to wash away all the germs and treat their feet if there's any kind of bacterial infection and any kind of lacerations. So we have to actually sit in front of every recipient for 5 to like sometimes 12, 20 minutes to engage in dialogue and conversation. So it seems so impossible at the time. And one of my mentors, Nelson Mandela, said a long time ago, it always seems impossible until it's done. And now we can look, because hindsight's always 2020. You can look at what we've done. We've created this amazing volunteer army. I mean, to put it in context, we only have about 50 something staff all across the globe within the Samaritan team, but we've got over 200,000 volunteers that I say we pay on kingdom currency because we can afford to pay them. But these are active volunteers that's working with us from Nigeria to Sao Paulo, Brazil, to Kenya, to places like Hong Kong and the Philippines and Argentina, Brazil, and all across the globe to Haiti, all these places where they want to see their nation rid of neglected tropical disease. They want us to be a part. They want to fund and sponsor. They want to be a part of making things happen, to do amazing things. So it's pretty crazy. It seemed impossible then, but now look, 20 years later, uh, October of this year, we're going to serve a 10 million person, and it was crazy. And it wasn't all easy. I mean, we had our challenges. We had a lot of no's along the journey, because people hear me right now, they think it's always been rosy. It hasn't always been rosy, because every successful entrepreneur is going to go through some challenges. And I always tell them they have to grow thick skin, because you're going to get enough in number of no's, and you're going to fall on your face, and you're going to have some failure. But you can't let those failure keep you or rob you from celebrating those little successes that you win across the day. I tell people all the time, for us at Samaritan's Feet, we ensure that we chose our partners wisely. We ensure we chose our partners and our friends because you want to be around people that you want to be able to have fun with. We want to make sure that we were so laser focused on our why that anything else that came across our path, said, how does this help us get to 10 million? If it doesn't, we park it. And we kept our eyes on the price. We kept laser focused on that mission. We didn't compromise on our uniqueness. We said, we're going to wash every single recipient's feet and we're going to challenge them to keep dreaming big. And people can journal along that path. I don't care if you're a president of a country, CEO of a corporation, an NBA player, an NFL player, an Major League Baseball player. Come join us. Come be a part. Come use your platform to help go wash the feet of needy people all across the globe and inspire them to dream big things. And because of that, we've been able to accomplish this goal. And if you're listening today, you're an entrepreneur saying, how do I get there? One lesson I'm going to teach you right now and tell you is learn the art of delegation. You can't do it all by yourself. If you can, pay for the right type of partners, top talents that can help accelerate and amplify and get you to where you need to be able to go. So you can actually be able to accelerate your time to get to your goal. Because sometimes that's one of the key mistakes we all do. We want to say, you know what, I can do it all by myself. Well, let me tell you something, you can't. You've got to surround yourself with the type of people that's willing to also sacrifice like you and think about this, work on this, and every single day just marching towards the same set of goals.
It's like a roller coaster going up a mountain, right? So you're going up, you're going down, but you're going a little more up, and then you go a little
That's right.
down. Go a little up, and then you go a little down. It's fascinating to hear that. I'm glad you talk about that it isn't all the way up and that there were challenges and failures and other things along the way. How did you get over those things? Like, how did you manage to mentally? Let's talk about the mental state here. There must have been a time. Tell us about the weakest moments in the last 19 years in trying to achieve this incredible BHAG.
I remember, a couple of years actually after I started this was, I stepped out and said yes. I was in corporate. I was working for my third software company. We just went through this massive round of funding. We were looking at doing due diligence and to purchase a company actually out of Dallas, Texas. It's funny at that time, VC out of New York actually. I looked at all of us. We were all young there, calling. They said we needed some adult supervision. So they brought this guy, we call him the gray hair guys at that time, to kind of provide oversight for us. And this gentleman called Jay flew with me down to Dallas to do due diligence on this company. And I still remember just like it was yesterday. And because when we got there the night before, the next day we were supposed to have this meeting, so we have some time to kill. So we said, well, let's go get some tickets to go watch my dear friend, like Vince Carter, to go come play against, at that time Dallas Maverick was playing for the New Jersey Nets. So we did, and this gentleman, while we're sitting down waiting before the game started, looked at me and he said, Manny, what if money wasn't an issue? How would you change the world? And I said, how did these guys know I was trying to do what I was trying to do? And I started sharing his vision for Samaritan's Feet. But fast forward, like this guy, after I started sharing with my passion, what I want to do to put shoes and wash people's feet and impact people all across the globe, he paused me and said, Manny, why are you here? And when your boss asks you why you're here, you quickly find a way to change the subject. It was so crazy. I didn't realize that guy remembered that day. And then fast forward a few days later, after I came back, I didn't realize the president of the VC was bringing in to take over the company was actually going to bring somebody else to come take my job. That's actually how I stepped away, and I was forced into actually stepping into starting Samaritans sooner than what I anticipated. So after I started it, I actually ended up having some severance money that kind of kept me. So I thought that money was going to last me for about 2 or so, maybe even 3 years from the savings that I had. You won't believe this, Colin. About 6 or so months into this process, my daughter one day woke up in the middle of the night. Appendix was rupturing. Got to realize after about 6 or 7 months, we didn't have that fancy insurance plan anymore. We had that catastrophic insurance. Everything you have to pay out of pocket. I showed up that day. I wrote the check. It wasn't even a week after that. My daughter was playing outside. My second daughter fell, broke her elbow, and I'm like, "What's going on?" I just saw my bank account start depleting and start depleting. My daughter, my wife was taking my. Actually, I was myself. Actually going to a meeting in Charlotte. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was going to a meeting, and one of those days we had one of those black highs days in Charlotte. I was driving this 4x4 Lincoln Navigator, and by the country club by my house, they left the sprinkler system all night, and my truck, slid through that ice into the medium to oncoming vehicle. 5 vehicles later, they thought I was dead until the fire people and the police people showed up. So crazy. My daughter was taking my wife was taking my daughter, and actually a week or so after that, to a birthday party, and this person ran the stoplight and T-boned my car, and then we lost the car. So we went from thinking we were on top of the world to where we are, and the straw that broke the camel's back. You won't believe this. We saw these funds that we thought was going to last us these 2 years just depleting and depleting and depleting. And I'm like, what in the world is happening to me? And my wife called me. She was going to the grocery store to go buy grocery, and I still remember the total. All this stuff happened within the span of a year. The total for the groceries was about $14 and 20 some cents. She only had $12, and she called me on the phone. She said, "What are you doing to me?" And I felt like a little failure. And I said, "What in the world? I thought I figured I have a business plan. I've thought through this." And before I knew it, I broke down. And I still remember, just like yesterday, I'm a person of faith. And there was a gentleman that I was listening to on the radio that I didn't even know what in the world he was talking about. I mean, the guy was called Tony Evans, and I didn't remember anything he said that they're calling him Michelle. I just heard him say, sometimes, God allows our life to hit rock bottom, but to remember who's the rock at that bottom. And I just broke and I started to weep. And from that day on, something shifted in my life spiritually, and in just in the focus in my strategy. I hired a new marketing guy. I said we need to find a way to kind of make us beyond a regional charity to a global charity. I partnered with Thomas Kincaid, the Painter of Light, would put us on the map. That was led me to meet Maya Angelou, and before indeed, that's what connected me to Ron Hunter, that coached for us on national TV with no shoes, and that's what allowed us to kind of put us on the map. So coaches and athletes and everything kind of be a part of it. We ended up becoming actually the official charity of the NCAA, which connected me to Ernie Johnson and MB on TNT. Those guys went barefoot before I knew it. Sears at that time gave us over 1.3 million pairs of shoes valued at over $30 million. Before we knew, one thing after the other, but I did not stay feeling sorry for me. I kept working, I kept pursuing, and I kept driving.
All right. Wow.
Oh my
Dimple.
gosh. Wait,
Sorry.
wait, wait. Colin,
I got it. Okay, go ahead.
I see we have the one and only Joe Foster. Joe has joined us from the UK. Joe is the founder, along with his brother, of Reebok. And Manny, I think I heard you say, or I heard a rumor that you and Joe have also teamed up too for this special cause. I'd love to hear Joe. Joe, welcome to the stage, and thank you for coming to support us and Manny. By the way, Colin's going to announce it shortly, but we are donating some money for this cause as well. So, welcome to the stage, Joe. You're
Oh
on mute.
man.
Yeah, you're on mute, Joe. On the right-hand corner, you can unmute.
Well, while Joe is unmuting, I tell you, Joe, I mean, I was blessed to meet this amazing human as part of his book speaking series a while back here in Charlotte, and I was just mesmerized just by the icon of a human it is, what he's accomplished with his life, and to meet him was such a joy.
Hello there, Manny. My technician has managed to unmute us. So can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
And my
Welcome, Joe.
technician is Julie. Julie is, and Julie very well. And it's an absolute pleasure to be able to join you tonight on Clubhouse. Fantastic. And yes, we're working on everything. And Samaritan Feet, we're passing the message on, which we believe is absolutely incredible. So it's good. It's good actually to be with you. We will be back in America in the sort of third week in July, so we hope to meet up again. But meanwhile, wow, yes, we feel that the cause is so big, so great, and we're going to get Reebok involved and see what we can do. And I'm sure there's a new company now that ABG have it, and but they're going places. But we really feel for Samaritan's Feet. We really do. We feel that the idea, just the venture, just the thought behind it. It's so inspiring, and so yeah, we're going to help you get to that 10 million. Believe
Oh,
us.
thank you, Joe. Thank you so much, Joe. I'm so grateful, and so Michelle and Colin. We've asked
Indeed.
Joe and his amazing wife, Julie, to consider being one of our Hope Giver honorees this year to help us take the message as a speaker across the country and around the world to educate people about the plight of the over a billion with no shoes that are affected by disease because many of them don't have shoes. So I'm excited, and hopefully they're going to be at our gala this November 11 in Charlotte as they compete with a bunch of people to be who's going to be our person of the year. And I'm hoping, Joe, you and Julie will be our person of the year this year because what you guys have done through Reebok and what you guys have done with your life, I think is just an amazing, amazing story. And we can't wait to celebrate with you guys, God willing, later on this year.
Oh well, we certainly intend to be there. And you know the story, the journey. We're only halfway through the journey. I may be 88, but Julie's much younger than I am, and we're going to continue with this. She keeps me going. So yeah, we're only halfway there. Let's get the other half done. And
I
yes,
appreciate that. I
Colin
appreciate that.
and Michelle, brilliant, good friends,
Well,
and
I,
we look
I,
forward to meeting everybody again.
I cannot help but make a comparison here. Uh, Joe Foster, the founder of Reebok, who wrote the book Shoemaker, spent 19 years of his life with this vision of creating a global brand and made it happen. Manny, 19 years ago, sets out a vision for 10 million pairs of shoes to give away to help to help to help change the world. And I can't help but compare both of those stories together and look at them and say, "Wow, both of you had this vision from the very beginning. Something that could be bigger than almost like imaginable." Like I don't think the average entrepreneur sits down and thinks, "I'm going to give away 10 million pairs of shoes or I'm going to create a global brand." So starting with Manny before, because I know Joe's got a limited time here, but just starting with you, Joe, what do you think about Manny's like 19 years ago with this idea to give away 10 million pairs of shoes? First of all, what do you think about his BHAG or his mountain that he had to climb, and the mountain that you had to climb, and you describe it very well in the book Shoemaker?
Well, we're both mountaineers, so that's no. You just do it. You just do it. You keep on doing it. It's not effort. It's a pleasure. It's something you get an enormous a lot of fun from. You get pleasure from, and you give a lot of other people. You give them pleasure, which I think is so rewarding. It gives you so much back when you're doing this for people. And to think 10 million per Samaritan feet, how great. So I don't think 19 years is much. We could go on forever. Why not?
I love it. I love it. I mean, I think Joe said it best. I think in terms of when you think about what it takes to do what I mean, it just seems impossible. It takes immeasurable faith. It takes immeasurable hard work. But Joe said it best. It's about actually helping to help other people's dreams come true along the journey. But one thing that I know, the few times I've been around him and Julie, they smile enough. That means they like to have fun. So they create an environment where there's fun for people to be around them. And if you can have those as part of the recipe, I think the rest of the stuff will just figure itself out. I mean, you create a culture where people work hard but get rewarded, and you create a culture where we know what our mission, we know what our vision is, we know what our BHAG is. We're watching and marching towards that every single day, and we don't let any little thing conjure us up from our goals. So we do that, and that's where we are right now. And now we're setting ourselves as we prepare to summit that 10 million person this year. We already starting to build a case. How do we go serve the next 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, 100 million? And how do I do that sustainably? How do we create an economic development platform that allow us to do that creates the job and allow people to also join and be rewarded to be part of that? I think that's pretty exciting.
That is exciting. That's we're so happy to be considered as part of your operation. Samaritan Feet, it probably opens a big door for us, which helps us to get big smiles.
Oh, thank
And
you.
big smiles. And yeah, what a wonderful opportunity. So thank you, Manny. Thank you for inviting us. And Colin, Michelle, we love being with you. We really do. It's been a great adventure being over there in Florida. And okay, We're going to be in Charlotte, not very long, so let's get together.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks, Joe.
Okay. Bye,
Excellent.
Manny.
Bye,
Hi,
Julie.
Julie.
Good to hear your
Bye.
voice.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
It's a 2-for-1 deal, right? Julie and
I
Joe.
love it.
I love that too. Dimple and Augustin, just as Michelle jumped in there, I was going to say we're going to break protocol to let Joe Foster go next, because normally with Dimple you'd be up next. You've been very patient, Dimple. Really appreciate that. Do you have a question or a comment to share with? I mean, isn't that amazing? We had two icons on stage at once. Didn't
That's
plan it. I know,
amazing.
Michelle, that you just brought like you invited him on like that. Dimple, what do you think? That's just
I
insane, isn't
mean,
it?
I was looking at Joe's profile and I was like, oh my God. And I just came into the room when I was listening to Manny and I was just blown away, like, wow, just listening to the story and the ambition and the why behind everything. And I was like, wow. And then I heard Manny and Joe talk about the gala in Charlotte. Well, I'm in Charlotte, so I need to know about this event. Maybe I can come support you guys as well. But it's like you never know what can happen. Colin and Michelle and Mimi, like in Clubhouse, you just never know who can pop up into Clubhouse, and that's like one of the things like I love about it. You just don't know who you're going to meet, and what they're going to bring to your life. And you get people from all over the world, globally. You get leaders, you get owners that have built million billion dollar companies and corporations. So I mean, it's really powerful. And I've been on Clubhouse since the early days, so I've been here for many, 2.5 years. So I just think it's amazing, and just the conversation that I came into, I was really enjoying it. So thank you for having me. And Manny, if you can send me details on the gala, I'd appreciate it, because I'm in Charlotte as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Please check us out at samaritanfee.org. You'll see information about that, but we'll definitely also send some stuff to you directly. We look forward to staying in touch. And the gala is on November the 11th in Charlotte. Please come join us. Be a part of that.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank
And I
you.
know Michelle had mentioned that we were going to make an announcement here today at the show that Startup Club is actually going to donate up to $1,000 based on matching from those in the audience now, or those who listen to this on replay, or those who listen to it in the podcast, Serial Entrepreneur Secrets Revealed. So if you make a donation just in the next 30 days or so, we are going to match that $1,000. How do we know it's you? Because you know what, the reality is we're going to do a full $1,000 anyway. So we'll do it. But the fact of the matter is, we would really like you to take a look at the site. And Manny, I went there earlier today. There's two ways to donate. You can donate like $10 a month or something and join a club. Is that correct? Or just do a one-time donation?
Yeah, you can do either one. You can be part of our soul society and be a recurring partner. You can give $1 a day and allows us to put a pair of shoes every month on somebody here locally and somebody internationally in your name. You can give a one-time gift if you want to. You can connect your company to be part of this. You can sponsor a virtual shoe drive, and you can go with us to serve locally or globally. You can adopt the country, you can adopt the school, you can adopt like a native nation, Indian reservation. You can, I mean, there's so much that you can do. So go to SamaritansFee.org today and let us know how you want to use your platform. You may be the friend of a CEO of a founder of a footwear company like Joe Foster. Maybe it's Nike, maybe somewhere else, and say, man, these guys want to impact 10 million. Maybe they can donate. So you just never know. I mean, Colin, I was on NBA on TNT on a few years back, and on Mother's Day when one of the executive of a new shoe company heard my story on MB on TNT. It was a friend of Kenny Smith, called me up and said, "Are you for real?" I said, "Yes." It was because of that got connected to Sears, and that led to about 1.3 million shoes getting donated. So Dimple was absolutely right. You never know what can happen when people pop up at the right stage at the right time.
Yeah, you really just got to get your message out there, and you never know who's in the audience. So I heard you speak about 2, 3 years ago, and then recently heard you speak again at the Growth Conference, the Rhythms Growth Conference um, in Charlotte. And then I'm like, okay, wouldn't it be amazing to have you on Clubhouse? And then I also reached out to my South Florida EO chapter, and there's 305 members in the chapter. I said, wouldn't it be amazing to have Manny come down and speak about the story of his incredible journey, a mountain that he had to climb one base camp at a time. I guess you could say one hill at a time, one base camp at a time, as you talk about it. And then now we're writing a Forbes article about startups climbing a mountain. And
That's
so it's, you're
awesome.
right. So it's one thing after another. It's effort. And all it was is just getting yourself out there. And so can you give some advice there to startups that are, just struggling to get started? There's two things I really want to hear from you, and then we'll get down to you, Augustine. One is advice for startups who want to get started. How do they get their visibility? How do they get themselves out there? And I think you might have addressed that a little bit. But second, can you talk a little bit more about how somebody starting a business today can apply a purpose to achieve that first base camp?
Thank you for. I mean, those are two amazing questions. I think everybody's looking to make an impact in the world. I don't care who you are. Some of the wealthiest multi-billionaires that I know, to people just starting out today. I think if you can actually include as part of your vision a why that's bigger than profits, I promise you, you will far exceed the potential of what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And Samaritan Speak can become a vehicle, a platform to help amplify that vision, to make it a reality. Because people want to do business with people that cares, that makes an impact, that makes a difference. And you want to be viewed as a difference maker. Because when people realize that you're not just doing it just all about just hoarding and just keeping it all by yourself, but you care about humanity, you care about leaving an imprint and a legacy for this world to remember, they want to be a part of that. Because some people are not, that's why they call you guys entrepreneur. Not everybody has the boldness, the courage to step out to go do this. But you've said you're going to do it, but do it in such a way that has meaning, that has purpose behind it. So if you're thinking about that today, I promise you, look for opportunities to be able to connect yourself to a cause. I mean, our cause right now is Samaritan's Feet, to go create a world with zero shoeless people. Our cause is to help eradicate, some of those, neglected tropical disease. Maybe it's hookworm, maybe it's podoconiosis, maybe it's cystosomiasis, maybe it's some of these jiggers in the world. In the early 20s in this country and 30s, it was the rock, some of the wealthiest families in this country, that actually were part of helping to eradicate the hookworm that was so pervasive throughout the southern part of this country. They chose to use their profit to give back and to make an impact, and people remembered. People remembered that. So, what problem are you looking to try and solve in the world, and how do you position your business as a platform to help amplify the message for that stuff and let people know that when they support you, you're supporting a cause that's bigger. And I promise you, they will give you a double wink and want to be a part of what you're doing. So I mean, for us at Samaritan, so when we were starting out, I mean, it's the first 3 years, Colin. I remember getting to about 300,000 shoes. We said, how in the world are we going to get to 10 million? And then we had that idea. What if we can get a Division One coach? It actually happened at a hotel room in New York City at a New Yorker, where after I met Maya Angelou and she told me the story about her working with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And when she found out what I was doing, and she made me one of our top 100 friends, invited me to our birthday in Winston-Salem, and I'm sitting in this room. I said, somebody pinch me. How in the world did I get here? And then that led me to inspiring this coach to coach a game for us, because part of that strategy is to look and find who are key influencers and spokespeople that can lock hands with you to help amplify your message. So that way, yes, they may get credit for what they're trying to do, but secondarily, as part of that strategy, they're helping to get your word out about your mission. And when people are affiliated with people that people care about, that has the right platform, the right voices, they want to connect with you. We've actually used things like NIL, name, image, and likeness, working with college and high school kids to help get the word out and do a reverse NIL strategy that allows them to use their platform to help raise money for our cause. And if they're successful, we'll provide a percentage of what they raise for them to be able to use to go do good in their community. And I think that's the thing that we are trying to do. That's how people can actually use their business as a platform to help make a bigger difference in the world.
What's old again is new again. And again, I'm going to make a
Absolutely.
parallel here with Joe Foster. Uh, 19 years in the business, he goes into what he calls the white space. They launch women's aerobic shoes, and somebody buys her shoes. Her name was Jane Fonda,
Hmm.
and the company went from 9 million to 900 million in 4 years. and they never, now this was an influence they never paid for. It happened by accident. They call it the big break. But I just wanted to, like, you talk about this, the influencer, the basketball player you hired to try to get, or not hired, or connected with, to
Mhm.
try to get exposure. And I think that's a valuable lesson for all startups, that, we need to find ways to get our products exposed. And sometimes we can position them or partner with these influencers to get that exposure.
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, because this coach chose to coach barefoot, which helped increase and improve his brand. And when he was partner with a cause that's a global cause, he even improved his reputation and his profile of his brand. And then he improved our brand along with that as well, and the exposure. I mean, because of that, they invited me to come to the NCAA Final Four to present an award. That's because of that yes that he gave, got me connected to Ernie Johnson, that got me connected to get me on NBA on TNT, to connect with Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley and Kenny Smith. That led to the fact that the friends of Kenny saw the show and said, I want to help this guy, because they were launching a new shoe line that was going to be sold exclusively through Kmart and Sears. I want to give the biggest give to become 1 point something million, and then step away, work with NASCAR, step away, work with the NFL with Steve Smith, to say, let me use my platform at the end of every game. I'm gonna take off my cleats in midfield and ask other athletes like Russell and all the other guys to join me, and then take off their shoes and walk off the field. And they put a face. It was part of our barefoot for barefoot campaign. And all of a sudden, before we knew, the world knew about what we were doing. So be innovative, be creative, but make sure you always lead with your why.
All right. Augustin, you've been like the most patient guest we've had today, waiting about 40 minutes here, I think, to get a chance to ask Manny a question. We appreciate that patience. And it was interesting to have Joe Foster, the founder of Reebok, just jump on like that and sort of throw us through a loop. But welcome on stage, Augustin. And do you have a question or a comment about what Manny's been talking about today?
Wow, what an inspiration. I mean, just listening to Manny, his drive. And I wrote three things down, and I know Michelle and you're going to agree on the first one. It's passion. I hear it in your voice, I hear it in the way that Manny just drove forward with this passion. And then the other piece I wanted to focus on is perseverance. You had the perseverance that did not slow you down. And you said it. Well, we're at 300,000. Are we going to get to that goal? But you did establish a goal, which is very important. And you leverage off your networking. And the networking wasn't that you were really looking for it, it just came to you. You know, Reebok, and then you mentioned the other influencers out there that are sports individuals. But the story behind, the barefoot, you created a cause out there. And that cause is very important because you hit an area of, you know, underdeveloped countries, diseases, etc. And that actually is a very good philanthropical approach. It shows a lot of caring, and it opens the eyes to how can we foster and help our partner nations, even within our nation, wherever we're at, because we do have poverty throughout all the markets. And then what I picked up here too, Colin, was there's similar issues, similar problems, similar opportunities. So the word is similar. What costs do I have that can help or be aligned to what Manny's cost is? In the company that I'm actually currently working for right now, we focus on immigrants, on the immigration. How do we help the immigrant thrive in the United States, for example? What are the opportunities? What don't they know? So you're putting a product, you're putting a service out there that will itself have the opportunity to evolve. And what you have to find is what is it the impact that you're doing? Because we can easily get lost in so many different areas that we can actually add value. But then again, my motto, the way I think is identify 10 items, focus on seven, align with five of them, and deliver three, and then repeat the cycle again. That's the approach that I do when I look at things. And one other thing that I wanted to share here, Manny, that I love about your approach, I wish when I was doing my thesis as part of my graduate program in university, I would have had the insights and knowledge that you had. Our project that we were working on was a project about a shoe company, believe it or
Mm,
not. And it
mm,
was on how do you make the company grow? What are the
mm,
pitfalls? What is profitable? Now, listening to you, going back, what, 20 years ago, maybe when I did my master's,
mhm,
I see that now we have the tools, we have the know how. The industry has changed, there's more collaboration. If I would have had access to that information, that would have catapult our project and what we were doing a lot quicker. And maybe I wouldn't have had those same pitfalls. Obviously, we're always going to have pitfalls. And Colin, you said it, the old and the new. What we're experiencing nowadays, we have to leverage on that because we have it on our fingertips to be able to put something out there that it's going to actually make a change, and especially on the focus that you have, Manny, with a cause. That is the major driver I see here. And two, it's not just isolated to what Samaritan has done. There's a whole bunch of different businesses that everyone on this call has, and there's a reason that you drive this forward, especially in the time of looking for investments in new companies and how our investors are changing their mindset as well. So just wanted to leave that on the table. I had a, I mean, you took me to a different level, Manny. Thank you very much. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you so much, Augustine. I appreciate those kind words, and then you said it best. I think for anyone listening, I think Augustine nailed it. Passion, perseverance. I think the other thing they mentioned, they said in a roundabout way, is the platform for delivery, and I think it's very important. And focus. I think he said it best. Let's focus on the main thing. Keep the main thing, and don't get easily distracted. You just keep marching. I think the most important thing, there's too many people that has great ideas. The best thing you can do for yourself is to just start that, and I think put one foot in front of the other. I think things will work itself out.
Wow. That was just amazing. And I love how you reiterate that, Augustine and Manny, that relentless focus. Like when you know what's right, you know what's right, and don't get off that. Just keep going. So that's amazing. And I want to go to our next member. Roland, it's always great to have you on stage, and we're love to hear any questions or sharings that you have for the other members and for Manny. Roland.
Thanks, Michelle. Actually, I came into the room late, so I missed a great part of this possibly great conversation. In any case, I'm still going to take this opportunity to ask Manny a couple of questions, if you don't mind, Michelle.
Go
So,
for it.
so Manny, I missed a large part of the conversation, so please pardon me if I get something kind of completely off topic. But I guess the questions that you may not have been asked are the following. Number one, given the shift in the world towards sustainability, how do you see that affecting the product that you are making, which is the shoe? That would be my
Very good
first
question.
question.
That's a great question. I think sustainability has been at the core, even as part of the design for our new shoes. So our new world shoe that we're going to be manufacturing in Africa. There'll be two lines. There's one that's an EVA line similar to Crocs, where actually has a biodegradable accelerant that's actually injected into the shoe as part of the manufacturing process. So when the shelf life of the shoe is over, we can actually bury the shoe in the dirt, and within 15 years, it'll biodegrade. We also can take the same shoes if we want to, and we can grind them down and use them for other uses. So there's reusable component, and then there'll be a secondary aspect of our business line with shoes that we actually take waste from within the country to be able to actually allow us to be able to actually create unique shoes from this. So there's a purely will be 100% locally sourced. And lastly, because to start out, some of those material for the stuff we have to use for our manufacturing process has to be imported. But we also know that in West Africa, they are one of the largest producers of rubber. So we want to be able to vertically integrate our raw material process so we can actually look at what can we do to inject science and being able to actually take some of those rubbers and hopefully turn some of those stuff where they're using them to make tires right now. Can we turn them into EVAs as well? So those are some of the things that we're working on.
Thanks for that, Manny. My second question, you've talked at length about the importance of focus. Uh, Now that you have achieved success with the shoe, do you see yourself continuing to focus on the shoe and the vertical integration that you talked about, or do you see yourself diversifying in a means of giving back to Africa in other industries? And I ask that question as a person who was born in Africa as well.
Oh, thank you for that. What part of Africa were you born in? Uganda or Kenya?
Zambia.
Zambia. Okay. So thank you for that question. Focus is one key thing. Until we lead the effort to be able to create a world with zero shoeless people. Right now, there's about 661 million people in our world right now that actually has never been able to own a pair of shoes. So we want to go after that goal, and we've created a social enterprise framework to help address that stuff, which will be a for-profit entity that allows us to manufacture shoe to be the supplier of the footwear, a nonprofit Samaritan's Fit, a 20-year last mile organization that understands the intricacies of what it takes from a supply chain to deliver shoes all across the globe. But also we've created, an advocacy research and a fundraising a nonprofit, a fund that allows us to leverage philanthropy to be able to work with government agencies, work with ministries of countries in health and agriculture and education, and then also to be able to actually, with global collaborators like the UN and UNICEF and Red Cross and UNCR and all these other agencies that's working to bring hope to the world. So we have multi-channel opportunity to be able to connect. And then the for-profit side can also work through retail channels all across Africa and all across the world to be able to deliver a product that people want, that's cool looking, that's good quality, and that innovation and that product being manufactured in Africa. So as we do that, we know there'll be secondary things. Like we know that right now, as our factory has actually been manufactured, being constructed. The feedback has been so crazy. We know we have an obligation to bring a collective impact to the community where we live, work, and play. So the first factory has been manufactured and erected in Ghana. We know for every employee that we employ in Ghana, it actually has a downstream implication of being able to help up anywhere between 7 and 10 people, either secondary industry from banks to barbers to food to transport, all the other secondary things that we impact. So for every 300 people we employ, that multiply that by 10. So look at all the secondary opportunities that create by creating, moving from aid into development. I think those are some of the other things that allow us, because I was speaking at the UN actually in Geneva just about 3 weeks ago and at a UNRO conference, and we were talking about the importance, and there were all these ambassadors from Africa in the room. And I stood up and I said, guys, I'm tired of aid. We need development in Africa. We need jobs in Africa. We need innovation in Africa. That's what's going to help provide that long lasting transformational change that Africa needs. Because the hopeful outcome of those people seeing the families working at industries, factories that's creating products, that's generating jobs, that's generating profits, bringing foreign exchange in. It's what's going to bring that long lasting transformation. And this will lead to other secondary things, like what we're talking about, some of the raw materials, all the things that we may see that may be needed as part of our supply chain.
Manny,
Fantastic. Can I ask Manny a
Roland,
last
sorry,
question?
we're out of time, Roland, but
No
appreciate it,
worries.
really do.
Thanks.
And I'm just trying to be respectful of our guest here. We committed to 1 hour, and I wanted to remind everyone that you can go to SamaritansFeet.com and make a donation, and it can be a monthly donation of $10, or you can do a one-time donation. You can do whatever you like, but go to SamaritansFeet.com. And Startup Club is matching up to $1,000 of donations, whether you've heard it from this show or through our podcast, Serial Entrepreneur Secrets Revealed. Manny, I have one last question. Sorry, Roland, I'm cheating. I took it. I took it. Okay. You set a BHAG of 10 million shoes 19 years ago. You're going to cross over in October. What's your next BHAG? What's your next mountain? What's your next big, hairy, audacious goal?
Thank you so much. I think I mentioned it briefly. Our next goal is to now move from aid to development. Is to go create a world. Honestly, with we want to see a world one day with zero shoeless people to eradicate some of this neglected tropical disease. We want to do that through an enterprise that's generating jobs through a for-profit venture and teaming up with nonprofit philanthropic opportunity to be able to actually coexist that allows us to create a shoe that saves life, but also generates and creates job and generates profits. And those profits can then be used to be able to help more people. That's where we are. So we hope it took us 20 years to go serve our first 10 million, but we hope it may take us 5 years to serve the next 10. And who knows, maybe over the next 20 years, with the help of all this amazing philanthropists and business partners, and then in the shoe brand itself, maybe we can enlist the help of others in the shoe industry as a whole to join us to help us create a world with zero shoeless people.
Well, zero shoeless people. I'm gonna give you an invite now to come back on the show when you hit that BHAG 19 years from now. I think it's bold. I think it's aggressive, and I think it's inspirational, like all uh, BHAGs are, like all mountains that we have to climb, and we take one step at a time. We conquer one hill. We reach one base camp. We celebrate the victories at each step along the way. Manny, thank you very much. You have been such an inspiration. I'm looking forward to seeing you in South Florida, speaking live and at other events. And if you don't already know, but you can just go on Google and type in his name, and you can follow him. It's Manny. I use Google because your last name, Ohonme. Oh, how do you pronounce your last name correctly here?
It's a homie. That N is silent. That's
Ahome.
a homie. Yeah, that N is silent.
Ahome. All right. Well, Ohome, thank you very much again. And by the way, if you don't already know this, there is a mailing list at startup.club. And we have two authors. We have one coming on next Friday, 2 o'clock Eastern, and one coming on the following Friday. Both are best selling authors. They're coming on. If you want more information, just go to startup.club, check out who they are, join the email list, because you would have not known that Manny was coming on today. Unfortunately, the app has not figured out a lot of things after they did their upgrade, and we're working with the app to try to get better exposure for the members on Startup Club. But the fact is, you would not know that Manny was going to come on unless you went to startup.club and sign up to that email list. All we do is just announce great authors and speakers like Manny, and we've got two great authors coming in the next 2 weeks. Thanks again, Manny. We appreciate that.
Have a fantastic day. God bless you all.
Thank you so much. And don't forget, you can go to SamaritansFeet.org and be part of the solution. Again, thank you for all the members. And we're looking forward to celebrating that last whatever, 99999 when you hit that 10 million mark. Manny, thank you so much for all you've done for all the children and people. Thank you and your team. Have a
Thank
wonderful
you, Michelle.
weekend.
Yeah,
You
and
do
I
the
think we
same.
should we should post a blog about the event because I assume you're going to do it live or something, Manny.
Yes.
We
Yes,
should
we
post a
will.
blog that about that event when we do get close. Mimi writes the blogs on Startup Club, and we'll definitely make that. And we'll you know what we'll do? If you're on the email list, we'll send you that live event link. Okay, there you
There
go.
you
Absolutely.
Another
go.
motivation to get on that email. Startup.club. Bye for
All
now.
right.
Bye
Be
bye.
well. Thank you.
Thanks, Manny.
Bye bye, Miss Me.